It started with the notes. Short, handwritten messages left under Mia's apartment door. The first one seemed harmless. You look beautiful when you laugh. She thought it was from a neighbor or maybe a secret admirer. Creepy, sure, but nothing to panic over. She tossed it in the trash and moved on. The second note came 2 days later. Red really suits you. That one made her pause. She had worn a red sweater that morning. Maybe it was still a coincidence. Maybe someone saw her in the hallway. But the next note made her stomach turn. You should lock your balcony door at night. MIA lived on the 5th floor. She never locked the balcony because who would climb 5 stories? But that night, as she stood at the sliding glass door, she noticed something chilling. Smudges. Faint handprints on the outside of the glass. Her hands shook as she locked the door, pulled the curtains closed, and called the building manager. He checked the security footage, but the cameras in the back lot had been malfunctioning for 2 days. Of course, she barely slept that night. Every creak of the building made her flinch. Every shadow seemed to move. She sat up in bed until sunrise, convincing herself she was overreacting. But when she checked the peephole before leaving for work, her blood ran cold. Another note was taped to the outside of her door. You didn't sleep much last night. She stayed home from work, called the police. They took a report but didn't seem too concerned. Could be a prank, they said. Call us if it happens again. But MIA knew this wasn't a prank. Whoever it was, they were close. Watching. That night, she triple-checked the locks. Slept with a kitchen knife under her pillow. Around midnight, she heard something. Soft, faint tapping. Not from the door. Not from the balcony. It was coming from the vent. Her heart pounded in her chest as she crept closer, holding her breath. The vent cover was small, too small for a person to fit, but the tapping kept going. Rhythmic, deliberate. She knelt down slowly, phone shaking in her hand as she turned on the flashlight and angled it toward the slats. 2 eyes stared back at her. She screamed, scrambling back as something inside the vent shifted. The tapping stopped. By the time the police arrived, the vent was empty. They told her it was probably an animal, a raccoon or a rat. But the next note proved them wrong. You screamed louder than I thought you would. MIA didn't sleep. She packed her bag and stayed at a friend's place. For 3 days, she didn't go near the apartment. When she finally worked up the courage to go back and grab the rest of her things, the apartment felt different, colder. There was one last note waiting for her on the kitchen counter, but this one wasn't handwritten. It was a printed photo of MIA, sleeping, and in the corner of the photo, just barely visible, a hand reaching out from the vent. Mia's breath caught in her chest as she stared at the photo. Her mind raced. How long had he been inside her apartment? How many nights had she slept while he watched from the walls? She bolted for the door, but before she could grab the handle, the lights cut out. The apartment plunged into darkness. Her phone. She fumbled for it, heart pounding so loud it echoed in her ears. As the screen lit up, her stomach dropped. One new message. No number. Don't leave. I want to see you. Her blood ran cold. She backed away from the door, fingers shaking as she dialed 911. But before the call could connect, something clattered in the hallway. Slow, deliberate footsteps. Heavy breathing. He was inside. She spun toward the balcony, yanking the sliding door open. Cold air hit her face as she stepped outside. But when she turned to close it behind her, he was already there. Tall, dressed in black, a ski mask covering his face. And he wasn't rushing. He moved slowly, calmly, like he knew she had nowhere to go. Mia's heart pounded as she scrambled for the edge of the balcony. 5 stories up, too high to jump. She glanced down. Maybe the ledge. Maybe she could climb to the next balcony. But then he spoke. I've been waiting to meet you. The voice was calm, soft, familiar. Mia's breath hitched. She knew that voice. The maintenance guy. The one who fixed her sink last month. The one who smiled too long in the hallway. Her legs nearly gave out, but she forced herself to keep moving. She grabbed the metal railing, ready to climb. But he lunged, grabbing her ankle. She kicked wildly, screaming as loud as she could. And this time, someone heard her. A neighbor from the balcony below leaned out, yelling, "What the hell is going on?" The sudden voice startled him. His grip loosened. It was enough. MIA yanked her leg free and climbed over the edge, dropping onto the next balcony. Her ankle twisted on impact, but she didn't stop. She banged on the glass door until another neighbor opened it, pulling her inside. By the time the police arrived, the apartment above was empty. No sign of him. No fingerprints. MIA couldn't stay silent anymore. With police swarming the building, reporters caught wind of the incident. Her story made the local news, a masked stalker hiding inside her apartment walls. But no arrests were made. No suspects. No answers. For a week, she stayed at her friend's house, jumping at every creek and shadow. She didn't want to go back, but the lease wasn't up, and she had no money to break it. Against her better judgment, she returned in broad daylight with two friends, determined to pack her things and leave for good. The apartment felt hollow, too quiet. As they packed boxes in the bedroom, one of her friends called from the living room. "Hey, MIA, come look at this." Her heart sank the moment she saw it. The vent cover had been removed, revealing a narrow crawl space, just big enough for someone to hide. Inside were a blanket, empty food wrappers, and bottles of water. He had been living there. Her stomach churned as she stumbled back, hands shaking while she dialed the police again. As they waited for officers to arrive, something else caught her eye. A note taped under the kitchen table. "Did you miss me?" Her breath hitched. Panic rose in her chest. They had checked every room, every corner. He couldn't still be here, could he? That's when she noticed the closet door. Slightly open. Just a crack. Her friends called her name, but their voices felt distant. Her pulse pounded in her ears as she grabbed a kitchen knife, stepping closer, slowly, quietly, with her back pressed against the bedroom door. Mia's hands trembled. Her friends pounded on the other side, begging her to open up, but she couldn't move, because the hallway was empty. Or at least, it looked empty. Her breathing was shaky as she edged forward, scanning every shadow. The closet, clear. The bathroom, empty. The front door swung slightly from the draft. Had he run? A sudden crash shattered the silence. From the vent, MIA spun just in time to see the metal slats buckle outward, screws popping loose. A pale hand gripped the edge, fingers twitching. He hadn't run. He had been hiding. Her stomach twisted in horror as he pulled himself from the crawl space, moving unnaturally fast. His ski mask slipped, revealing sweat-soaked hair and wild, bloodshot eyes. And this time, he didn't walk. He charged. MIA screamed, stumbling back as he lunged, just as the apartment door burst open. Police stormed in, shouting orders. Her stalker hesitated, just for a second, and that was all they needed. A deafening crack echoed through the room as a taser hit his chest. He convulsed, eyes rolling back before collapsing to the floor. Officers swarmed him, pinning him down as MIA gasped for air, her body trembling uncontrollably. One officer knelt beside her. "We got him." It should have felt like relief, like the nightmare was over. But then she saw something on the floor beside the vent, a small notebook. As an officer picked it up, the pages flipped open, revealing dozens of photos of her, sleeping, showering, eating dinner, some from inside the apartment, others from her new place across town. The officer's face darkened. "He was watching you before you even moved here." Mia's blood ran cold, and as they dragged him past her, his head lolled to the side. Even through the haze of sedation, he smiled. "See you soon." It was nearly midnight when Jenna boarded the last bus home. The city lights flickered outside the window as rain tapped steadily against the glass. Only a handful of passengers were scattered across the dimly lit seats, each lost in their own world. She sank into the back corner seat, plugging in her earphones and pulling up her hood. The day had been long, and all she wanted was to zone out until her stop. But after a few minutes, a strange feeling settled in the pit of her stomach. Someone was watching her. She glanced up. A man sat 2 rows ahead, partially turned in his seat. Dark hoodie, head tilted slightly toward her. Not enough to be obvious, but enough to be wrong. Jenna exhaled quietly, brushing it off. Maybe he was just zoning out. Maybe she was tired and overthinking. She put her head down, scrolling through her phone. But the feeling didn't go away. It got stronger. At the next stop, 4 people got off. He stayed. At the next, 2 more left. He stayed. By the time the bus reached the edge of town, it was just the 2 of them. Her chest tightened. She tapped her screen again, using it as a mirror. He was staring. Fully staring. Not even blinking. She thought about moving closer to the driver. But then the bus lurched to a stop. End of the line. The driver called out. Her heart sank. She slung her bag over her shoulder and hurried to the front, hoping, praying, that this was where he'd finally get off. But he didn't. He followed. The cold night air bit at her skin as she stepped off the bus. The rain had picked up, making it hard to see more than a few feet ahead. She pulled her jacket tighter and headed toward the dimly lit parking lot where her car was parked. The footsteps behind her matched her pace. Steady, unhurried. She glanced back. He was there, hood up, walking straight toward her. Her pulse skyrocketed. She fumbled for her keys, trying to speed up without breaking into a run. But the faster she walked, the faster he walked. She reached her car, heart pounding. Her hands shook so badly it took 3 tries to fit the key into the lock. She exhaled a shaky breath as the door finally clicked open. But before she could get in, a voice cut through the rain. Hey. She froze. The man stood a few feet away now, hands shoved in his pockets. The hood cast a shadow over his face, but she could still see the faint outline of a smile. I think you dropped this, he said. She frowned, glancing down. He was holding something small and shiny between his fingers. A keychain. His. Her blood turned cold. She hadn't dropped it. It had been clipped to her bag. No, that's mine, she said. Her voice was quieter than she wanted it to be. I know, he said softly. I've had it for a while. Her breath caught. She yanked the car door open, but he moved faster, slamming it shut before she could get in. You're really hard to get alone. You know that, he whispered. I've been trying for weeks. Panic surged through her chest. She shoved him back with all her strength and bolted toward the exit. The rain blurred her vision, but she didn't stop. She could hear him behind her, running now. Her lungs burned as she reached the edge of the lot, waving frantically at the road. A pair of headlights appeared through the rain. She stumbled into the street, pounding on the hood of the car. The window rolled down. An older man peered out. Are you all right? Before she could answer, strong arms wrapped around her waist, dragging her backward. She screamed, kicking, thrashing as the man from the bus yanked her toward the shadows. No one's gonna help you, he hissed. They never do. But this time, he was wrong. The driver jumped out of his car. Hey, let her go. Another car slowed. A woman got out. Then another. More voices. Someone shouting. Someone on the phone. The man's grip loosened just enough for Jenna to break free. She stumbled forward, gasping, and collapsed into the driver's arms. By the time the police arrived, they found him hiding under a parked truck, soaked and out of breath. He was still clutching her keychain. The officer shook his head as he cuffed him. You're lucky, he told Jenna. This guy's been on our radar for months. She sat on the curb, shaking, as they loaded him into the back of the police car. And even then, even through the rain-streaked glass, he never stopped smiling. It wasn't the kind of job that made you feel unsafe. As the campus facilities manager at Elmwood University, Nate Harper was used to late nights and empty buildings, checking classrooms, locking doors. It was routine. But in his 10 years on the job, he'd never felt the weight of someone watching him, until last fall. It started with the small things. Keys missing from his belt one night, only to turn up in the janitor's closet the next morning. The front gate was left unlocked when he knew he'd closed it. He blamed fatigue. Long hours mess with your head, right? But then he started hearing footsteps, heavy, deliberate footsteps, following him through the halls after midnight. One night, he doubled back quickly, hoping to catch whoever was messing with him. But when he turned the corner, the hallway was empty. The hair on his arms stood up. He wasn't imagining it. He could still hear the footsteps, only now they were coming from behind him again. He stopped working late after that. But it didn't matter. The stalker wasn't just watching him at work anymore. The first time Nate saw the man in his neighborhood was on a Sunday afternoon. He was taking out the trash when he spotted someone standing across the street, partially hidden behind a tree. The guy was wearing dark clothes, hood up, head slightly tilted. Just watching. Nate called out, but the man didn't move. He just kept staring. When Nate took a few steps forward, the guy finally walked away, slow and calm. No rush, no fee. Nate's stomach dropped. This wasn't random. This guy knew where he lived. The next few weeks were a nightmare. No texts, no calls, no threats. Just the same hooded figure, always watching. Nate would catch him leaning against the fence outside the campus parking lot or standing at the edge of the soccer field at night. The guy never came close, never said a word. He just watched. Nate told campus security, but without proof, they couldn't do anything. The police were even less help. Unless he threatens you or tries to harm you, there's nothing we can pursue, they said. That's when Nate realized this was part of the plan. No threats, no words, just pressure. A constant, crushing presence designed to make him unravel. One night, after a late shift, Nate couldn't shake the feeling that someone was following him. He kept checking his mirrors on the drive home, nothing. But when he pulled into his driveway and got out of the car, he felt it, that awful feeling of being watched. He glanced toward the street, and there he was. Same hood, same calm stance. This time, Nate didn't hesitate. He grabbed a flashlight from his truck and marched toward him. "What do you want?" he yelled. The man didn't flinch. He didn't move. But as Nate got closer, something about the guy felt off. His posture, his breathing, the way he tilted his head slightly, as if Nate was the one being strange. When he was just a few feet away, Nate noticed something that made his blood run cold. The man wasn't blinking. At all. And then he smiled. Without a word, he turned and walked away. Not rushed. Not nervous. Just calm. Like he knew this wasn't over. The next morning, Nate checked the campus security footage. It took hours of scrubbing through clips, but there it was. Just after midnight, the man appeared on camera, standing outside Nate's office window for nearly 3 hours. Not moving. Just watching. Nate never went back to work after that.